Well. Here we are. We are back at it. The date is June 12th. We're still at it, huh? After all these years. All these years and years and years and years of this just one old man yelling at clouds. Fuck you, clouds. Here we are. It's another day, another year, another live stream. Where are we today? Where were we a year ago? Where were we 5 years ago? What do I do? I keep coming on every live. Keep saying it's been a hell of a ride. Yeah, it's definitely been a hell of a ride. Let me know, chat, if the volume is good. I feel like I am peaking. I definitely jacked up my audio settings to a crazy degree just because the last live I was on. So if it's a little too high, let me I'll lower it. Alright, that should be a little bit better. I'm gonna lower it. Alright, that should be good. If not, whatever. I'm gonna keep it at that. Hopefully I'm not blowing out everybody's eardrums if I'm blowing out everybody's eardrums. Alright, enough of that. What do you want to talk about? We got we just came off Destin Rivals. Destin Rivals, just currently most successful modern set of all time. What do I mean by that? Highest price at release. In the history of this hobby, there's never been a single set released or main expansion, never been a single main expansion that has performed better at release than Destin Rivals. There we go. Alright, number one mod said the volume is good, Drew. I appreciate you. Next thing. Coming into Black Bolt, White Flame. So early on the rips, people haven't really been loving the black and white set. Obviously, there's a ton of illustration rares. People aren't really loving it too much. Maybe we'll see a little bit of a dip with the black and white sets. The thing is there's still going to be a crazy chase. The crazy chase, obviously, is those monochromes or whatever they're calling it. It's like, so everyone's saying, shout out to the PokeFlips podcast. I was watching the PokeFlips podcast earlier today, and somebody asked in the chat, they said, what do you guys think if Pokemon introduced a new rarity type? And I think they asked something like similar to a Gold Star. And it's all perspective, right? Like at the time, Gold Star was 1 out of 72 packs, which nowadays that sounds like nothing. They're like, to pull a Mewtwo SIR from Destin Rivals is like 1 out of 1,000 packs to actually get the single SIR you want. Well, back then, 72 packs might as well have been 1,000 packs. Nobody was opening up 2 booster boxes of modern sets. That was very rare at the time of, say, EX Team Rocket returns and stuff. So secret rares, while for modern day standards wasn't a lot, back then it was. And people are like, well, what if they introduce a new rarity? Well, we're literally getting that in the next set. Where they're the monochromes. There's like the Zekrom and the Reshiram. It's literally a new rarity type. So in Japanese, we have SARs, so secret art rares. In English, we have SIRs, secret illustration rares. So, and this is a new rarity. It's like BWR, so black and white rarity. So it's actually a rarity above the Japanese SAR, and it's a rarity above our English SIR. And that's going to be the new big chase. And obviously, if you've been looking at the Japanese prices for singles, those cards are the most expensive cards in the set that are more expensive than both the SAR Reshiram and the SAR Zekrom. And that's just a new rarity. And I don't know what the chase is going to be. This is the thing. When it comes to value of cards, when it comes to new chases in the future, all it has to be is scarce. That's it. I think a lot of people are thinking like, oh, if they want to do a new rarity, they have to make the cards stand out. You have to make them very special. No, you don't. And what I mean by that is, so currently for like Destin Rivals, you get an SIR Mewtwo. I just told you it's like, I think PokeBeach had it like, in order to get a single specific SIR, it's like 1 out of every 1,095 packs to get, not to get a SIR, just to get a specific one. Obviously, Destin Rivals, you have a bunch of them. You have a Mewtwo, you have a Moltres, there's a Yanmega, there's a Ethan's Adventure, there's a Team Rocket's Nidoking. There's like a ton of actual SIRs. To actually pull a single SIR, it's like 1 out of every 95, 1 out of every 100 packs. So that's not the big deal. It's just the specific SIR. It's over 1 out of every 1,000 packs. So the thing is as long as Pokemon puts high rarity to something, I don't think artwork really matters. And what I mean by that is, obviously, right now everybody still talks about the Bubble Mew. Paldean Fates. Remember how nobody wanted Paldean Fates, but everybody wants a Paldean Fates now because you have a couple nice SIRs. You got the Gardevoir there, you got the Charizard, but the Bubble Mew. Bubble Mew, beautiful full art card, bunch of cool texture, there's cool Pokemon in the background, it's amazing artwork, and it's tough to pull. All Pokemon want, if they wanted to, they could make a secret rare. They could just make a shiny Mew. They don't expand the border. They go back to old school WotC, little teeny border, and it's just a shiny Mew. But as long as the pull rates on that was 1 out of 3,000 packs, 1 out of 5,000, whatever a God pack is from Prismatic. What's a God pack in Prismatic? Like 1 out of every 5,000 packs? I don't think we really know, but whatever that rarity chase factor is for a Prismatic God pack from that Prismatic God pack, the ultimate God pack with all the SIRs in it, whatever that is, like 1 out of 5,000, if they put a regular small ass box shiny Mew, but that shiny Mew you could literally only get it 1 out of every 5,000 packs, artwork doesn't mean anything. It's all about rarity. That's a lot of this hobby. People don't like to admit that. They think artwork is what really carries these cards. I promise you, artworks definitely help, but it's not the major driving factor. It's just rarity. I'm telling you, a little half art shiny Mew, as long as it was 1 out of every 5,000 packs, that would be the most expensive card in the set. That's the thing about Pokemon. Pokemon always has these little tricks in their back of their pocket. People just think like, oh, in the playable TCG, people talk about power creep, just meaning cards get more and more powerful and older decks just become more and more obsolete because there's no need for those decks because of the power creep. And you look at a base set Charizard had 120 HP. 120 HP is like some common cards today, and that was the big bad. And then it wasn't all the way to the Wailord, whatever the Wailord came out. Was that Sandstorm or EX Dragon, something like that? I remember the Wailord had 200 HP, and that was like a big deal. Like, oh, we went from 120 with a Charizard, and 3 years later we got a Wailord with, so yeah, from 1999 to 2004, so we'll call it 5 years, to 200 HP, and that's the most powerful card. Obviously, power creep is a thing, but then people also worry about, like, art creep. Just what happens when we have art creep? To eventually where, like, the only things that are valuable are the most full art, shiniest, and people worried about that, seeing like illustration rares and stuff. And we see it happen in like Dragon Ball. If you've ever opened a pack of Dragon Ball, you open up a pack and every single common, uncommon cards that are not even worth a penny are the most beautiful Pokemon card we've ever seen. Like, oh my god, this is the most beautiful full art, textured, amazing Dragon Ball Z card I've ever seen. And it's like, how much is this thing worth? And they're like, that is a common, and it's actually, you have to now pay me a penny because you asked me how much it's worth. It's actually $-. That's like Dragon Ball Z, but beautiful artwork. Pokemon, while artwork does matter, and artwork creep is definitely a thing, and like, people have been talking about artwork creep for a long time. And it's like going back, I mean, obviously we got Black and Whites coming out now, when, your original Reshiram and Zekrom from Black and White base, like, that's a big difference. It's like, wow, they expanded the entire card with full arts. And then before that, it's like, yeah, maybe level X's and stuff, maybe prime cards, maybe, I definitely would say you talk about the legend cards with, like, your Ho-Hos and your Lugias and, like your original tag team cards too, in a sense too, with like the Rayquaza and Deoxys and stuff. But those were two cards, they didn't really work. Very similar to, like, I guess how people look at not prism cards, break cards. How people look at break cards. Like, people don't like horizontal cards, even though legend cards are cool. Nobody really likes them because they don't display well. Because most collections are in 9 pocket binders, and those cards you have to put in sideways. They display sideways. You don't really have 9 card binders that you slide cards in horizontally and you could look at it horizontally. So it just never displayed well. But then before that, it's like the cards that broke the hobby were your gold stars, the ones that I mentioned earlier. Because what did gold stars do? They broke out of the border. They broke the fourth wall of the card, because everything from base set all the way up to your first ever gold star set, which is Team Rocket Returns. So from 1999 all the way up to 2004, all the artwork was always just confined in these little teeny square on the card. And then everybody talked about it then, and the people kept talking about it, and they talked about it in black and white, and then they kept talking about it for all these new rarities, and then your tag team cards, and then eventually when it came to Cosmic Eclipse, and Cosmic Eclipse introduced character rares, which character rares are pretty much like the predecessor of everything we know illustration rares. And then, obviously, from Cosmic Eclipse, you don't see any character rares from Cosmic Eclipse. You don't see anything until Brilliant Stars. That's why when you go from Sword and Shield base all the way up to Fusion Strike, guess what? Your holo hits are still the hits, even though it sucks to say. Everybody, because you have alt arts introduced really in battle styles. You can make the argument that there was alt arts in late Sun and Moon, but like for Sword and Shield, alt arts don't get introduced to battle styles, and it's like battle styles change the game because now you got alt arts, but then there's no illustration rare. So even though battle styles and Chill and Rain and Evolving Skies and Fusion Strike, even though all those sets have awesome alt arts to it, Evolving Skies obviously has all the evolutions. Fusion Strike has your Gengar, has your Sleepy Espeon, has the Celebi V. A shout out to the Sandaconda. While nobody likes the Sandaconda, one day the Sandaconda will get its day in the sun. It will never get its day in the sun. And even Chill and Rain, when you look at Chill and Rain, you see the Blaziken VMAX, and you see all the beautiful Moltres and all the crazy cards that are in that, or even with battle styles with the Sleepy T-Tar or the Urshifu, you're like, wow, these are just game changers right there. Honestly, nobody likes opening those sets, and it's like, well, why don't people like opening those sets? I literally just told you all the awesome alt arts, game-changing cards, meta artwork-changing cards. Well, people don't like opening those sets because there's a reason they call it Chill and Pain. There's a reason why they call it Evolving Skies, because still during the time, like, regular holos are still considered a hit. And yeah, you had your regular Vs too, but Vs don't feel very good. So it's holos, Vs, and alt arts, and then a couple full arts and trainers and stuff, and all that BS that goes along with it. But moving into now black and white, we're getting a new rarity. We're getting that black and white rarity. It's greater than SIR. So the Zekrom and Reshiram SIRs, they're not the most expensive cards. They are the second most expensive cards, because your black and white rarities are the most expensive, because there's these new monochromes. And you know what? Pokemon, as long as they have that in their back pocket, as long as they just make the rarity of the most expensive cards, and Pokemon knows what they're doing. For the most part, they know what the most expensive card is going to be. And as long as they make that card hard to pull, it doesn't matter what the Pokemon print numbers is. Everyone always talks about that, and they're like, Pokemon has the ability to print stuff into the ground. Yeah, you know what? Last video, maybe not last week. Shout out to last week was fun. Shout out to Thrifty TCG. Cool Trainer Ryan stopped by later in the stream. That was a lot of fun. It was like getting the squad back together. We gotta get rattling, but I'll be realistic with my expectations. But it was fun to get those. So the week before, I talked about the Pokemon print numbers, and it was 10.2 billion cards, and 10.2 billion cards is a lot. And before that, it was like before 2019, Pokemon would print like 1.7 billion for a year, and from 2023 to 2024, Pokemon literally printed 1.7 billion less cards. If you want to go back and watch that 2 lives ago, you'll hear me go on that little print run rant. But 10 billion cards sounds a lot. But if you make the rarity or in the scarcity on all these cards, 1 out of every 3,000 packs, 1 out of every 4,000, 1 out of every 5,000 packs, print runs stop really mattering at that point. And the crazy thing is you'll still be putting cards and you'll be putting product into the hands of the consumers by having really large print runs. But the cards that people really matter, the cards that people really matter, the cards that people really care about, the cards that really matter to a lot of people, the big hits, They'll just be non-existent. And the rarity and scarcity of those things will be so impossible that as long as that chase exists, as long as that carrot on the string is dangled in front of people, people will just keep wanting to consume this product. And I talked about it 2 lives ago, and I'll say it one more time. The only thing that could match unprecedented print runs would be unprecedented demand, and it also goes vice versa. The only thing that could match unprecedented demand is unprecedented print runs. People never talk about just the true rarity, and rarity of cards has gradually increased for the last 2 decades. I went back to the gold stars, everybody's gold standard, no pun intended, gold star, gold standard. No, it worked out well though, so we'll go with it. We'll go with that pun. But I told you earlier, it was 1 out of every 72 packs in order to get a gold star. That was the rarity back then. And going back to everybody's bread and butter, original WotC, OG base set. Well, OG base set had 16 hollows in it. There's 102 cards in the set. Number 1 is Alakazam. Number 16 is the old Zapdy boy, the old flying electric chicken himself, Zapdos. That's number 16 out of 102. How do I know that? Well, there's only 16 hollows in base set, and the Machamp is only available in the 2-player starter deck. So that means you can only pull out 15 hollows out of 15 possible hollows out of a pack, because that Machamp is not available in a regular pack, only available in the 2-player starter deck. So it worked out to be about 1 out of every 3 packs from a booster box, you're going to get a hollow. There's 36 packs in a booster box. That means you're going to get 12 hollows. Well, there's only 15 you could pull. So in a perfect world, you're going to pull pretty much the entire set. You're going to pull 12 out of the 15 possible hollows you can pull out of a base set. Obviously, there's always a chance of doubles, but that is not impossible. I just told you you can almost complete an entire set, almost an entire booster box. Or at least you get pretty damn close. 12 out of those 16 hollows, and then you could have bought a 2-player starter deck. There's a 2, I think the number is Pokemon released at one point was 2 million starter decks were printed, so there's 2 million of those first edition Machamps. You get them in a couple different variants. Well, really, you could get them in like 4 different variants. You can get them in the Shadowless version. You could get it in the regular unlimited. You can get it with like a Cosmos Hollow, which those are very rare, and then you can get the 99 2000. There you go. Those are pretty much for the most part the only way you're going to get those cards, and I'll let you in on a little secret, they're all first edition. But that wasn't hard. It was not hard to complete base set. And then if Pokemon wants, they could just keep making rarities higher and higher and higher, and they could just keep printing more and more and more. And you know what? If people can't pull the stuff they want, they're just going to keep ripping and ripping and ripping. And if they have to rip more packs to get the hits, you want to know what's going to happen? The singles are going to be even that much more money, because they're that much scarcer and they're that much harder to pull. That's it. Man, talk about I mean, they just got us by the balls, don't they, Pokemon? They just keep doing whatever they want. It's like, oh, you want more cards? Here's more cards. Well, we're not going to give you the actual cards you want, which are the actual hard cards to pull. Look at Prismatic Evolutions, SIRs. There are 33 SIRs in Prismatic Evolutions. Prismatic Evolutions, very similar to old Chillin' Pain, same thing as Evolving Skies. You pull out your little ETB booklet, you bought an ETB, you're super happy, you picked up that Costco drop, you got your 2 ETBs, you got your booster bundle, you open up your ETB, you got your little Prismatic booklet, and you're looking through it and you're like, wow, 33 SIRs, and wow, if I brick, I hit a Roaring Moon, I hit a Gold Dango. Ooh, alright. So, okay, there's a couple full art trainers. You got the old Crispin. Maybe you don't want the Crispin, but you're looking through the book and you're like, hey, not too shabby. This won't be that hard. And then you open pack after pack after pack, and you just brick and you just brick and you just brick and you just brick. And then you know what happens? You get nothing you really want. Yeah, maybe you got a couple Mirror Hollow Master Balls. Maybe you got a couple EXs. You got a nice full art trainer time. Everyone loves a good time. Not TIME, which we talk about time a lot on this channel. Only one person in the history of this hobby is undefeated, and that is Father Time. That is not the time I'm talking about. I'm talking about the time. TYME, the full art trainer. Good old time. Go suck a dick time, because no one likes pulling you out of a pack. But that's it. So you know what? Pokemon can just keep doing this. How long they keep doing this for? keep doing this into perpetuity. And so what are they doing? They're allowing product into people's hands, but they're not allowing the big hits. So they're keeping up it's an evil game. It's an evil, evil game. And if you think it's not an evil game, why do you think the price of a Sunbreon hasn't crashed and burned? Why do you think you can't pick up a Sunbreon for sub $100? Like, why do you think that is? Because what? Demand is too strong, right? And supply is too low. I don't think. I mean, they could. I mean, that Sunbreon, they could make it a guaranteed. They could just turn into a promo if they want. But Pokemon's not doing any of this stuff. They're not turning the Sunbreon into a promo. There's going to be no Umbreon premium collection box where everyone could just get the undistinguishable SIR Umbreon promo. Pokemon knows what they're doing. I feel like people want to give Pokemon the benefit of the doubt, especially the people that are crying that there is no product, blah, 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 and they want everything to be cheap. And the weirdest take in the history of the hobby, everybody wants MSRP, which I'm not going to go on my rant. If you want to hear my rants, oh, my neck is killing me. I'm getting old, guys. If you want to go to my rants, just so everyone knows, MSRP, historically in the large majority of this hobby, MSRP is a bad deal. B-A-D, just like Michael Jackson's bad. It is a bad deal. If you are paying MSRP, but you know what? Because now shit's expensive, people just want MSRP. And same thing happened in 2020, and you know what? It's funny. History just has a way of repeating itself. What's that famous saying? Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat themselves. You know, I put a little bit of belief in that, but man, that is a very, very true statement. Those that do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Man, are we repeating it right now? It's the same conversations, and you know what? I'm gonna let you on a little news flash for you. There's some new people that are finding my channel, but let's not kid ourselves. Everybody watching this channel has watched this, and I'm not getting any new viewers. The algorithm doesn't want me. That's fine. Algorithm could suck my crystal balls for all I care. Everybody's already heard this stuff before. Not only have you heard it on this channel, you heard it on 10 other channels, maybe 100 different channels. And not only did you hear it this week, you heard it last week, probably heard it a month ago and a year ago. And if you've been around long enough, you heard it 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Where do we go from here? I've heard I heard today, shout out once again, go watch the PokeFlips podcast. Terrible takes. I heard again, no one ever cares about the anniversary sets. What was it, 20th, 25th anniversary set? I just gotta go live after the PokeFlips to tell them why. People totally care. What? People totally care about anniversary sets. What dust are we smoking? The 20th anniversary set, Generations. I think people only know the end story of Generations. Generations was the first ever pack that I remember that sold for $8 at release. That is Generations. What are people smoking that Generations was not a successful set? It was super successful. It was an $8 booster pack. It just happened to be that the mythical collection boxes, there was 12 of them, and they released every month for a year. So what? More product hit the market? Duh. But trust me, people very, very much love Generations. I don't know where that story has come from or why people have ran with that, but I promise you, people very much love Generations. And you know what? Evolving Skies, XY Evolutions, not Evolving Skies, XY Evolutions, in English is XY12, and that is our last set. You got Breakthrough, Breakpoint, Fates Collide, Steam Siege, and then everybody's favorite set, XY Evolutions. But you want to know what the thing about XY Evolutions is? It was very, very sought after. And it was super high in demand. And booster boxes were very, very expensive. And you know what Pokemon did? Says, oh, you guys like this set? Here, hold my beer. Watch as I print this fucking thing for the next half decade. And we will kill the price of XY Evolutions. And they did. But you want to know what? It wasn't technically a 20th anniversary set in English, but you know what it was in Japanese? It's CP6. And you know what old CP6 was? Well, it was a anniversary set. So it really was, and it wasn't an anniversary set, but it kind of was an anniversary set. And you know what? People really, really liked XY Evolutions, and people really, really liked Generations because it was an anniversary set. And you want to know what happened in old 2025? Old Celebrations came in and flopped its dick on the table. And you want to know what happened with Celebrations? There was a little product called the Celebrations Ultra Premium Collection. That Ultra Premium Collection had 2 metal cards in it, the first really ever metal cards we saw. And you know what they did? They reprinted the old Pikachu and a Charizard. And yeah, there was 2 other just regular, not metal cards. Metal cards were the Charizard and Pikachu, and then they printed gold cards with the Pikachu and the Pokeball. And you know what? You know what happened with Celebrations UPCs? They were never available. People complain about PokemonCenter.com banning everybody and being a shitty website. Well, guess what? When old 25th anniversary came around, and after it flopped its dick on the table, you know what it did? It went absolutely crazy. You want to know why? Because everyone loves Celebrations. You want to know the crazy thing about Celebrations? It was not a big set. There was 50 cards pretty much. There was 25 in the regular set. Shout out to that gold Mew, number 25 out of 25. And then there's 25 cards in the old classic collection. Shout out to the Pop Series 5 Umbreon. And thank God they actually brought back the Venusaur and the Blastoise. Obviously there was a Zard, but we never got that Venusaur and Charizard and XY Evolutions, but we got it in Celebrations. So you know what? People loved themselves some Celebrations. So do not say people do not like anniversary sets, because I promise you, people love them some anniversary sets. And you know what? You think with all the craziness that's going on, all the hype and all the wildness, you think that the 30th anniversary is going to come around and it's just going to flop? What are we smoking? Shout out to Retrospect. What type of dust is being smoked recently in this hobby? It is the finest of dust. Shout out to all the spicy boys. The finest of dust is being smoked at the highest of levels. Shout out to the Shinotics. Shout out to the Joe Rogan experiences of the hobby. All the mushrooms and trips and whatever magical paths people are going on that they think the 30th anniversary will not be hyped and chilled and preposterous. It is going to be disgusting. And right before that, what's going to happen? Mega sets? You think that's going to be what kills it? The mega sets that come before. Thank God we got the mega sets coming. The mega sets will be the one thing that actually finally destroy the hobby. English Mega Evolution set to be released on September 26th. But expect pre-release shortages. That is from good old Poke Beach. That is the title of that. Expect shortages. And then what? I'm looking before that. Poke Beach podcast. We got the Ninja Spinner TCG set to feature a Mega Greninja. Yeah, nobody loves them. Some Greninja. Shout out to Twilight Masquerade, the only set that I did heat checks for I don't know, ever. People will tell you it didn't happen, but it did happen. I promise you, I believed in Twilight Masquerade. People look at Twilight Masquerade and they're like, how can this be a good set? I don't get it. Why do you like Twilight Masquerade, PK? I don't get it. This is not a good set. Well, it's got a Greninja in it, and everybody loves them some Greninja. Oh, and guess what else it has? Does it have a good IR? Yeah, it has a pretty freaking good IR in the cute little Eevee. Well, does it have any good other SIRs? Well, it's got some good trainers for all you waifu boys out there. You got a Carrion, you got the Lanazade, you got the Carmine, and then you got the cool Piran, the Piran who's looking down with the Growlithe in his face in the lens of the camera, and then you got that beautiful illustration Growlithe that is just goes with the card looking up at the Piran. That's another IR. And then people are like, I can't believe it, Twilight Masquerade and somehow performed well. I don't believe it. Why? Because you were looking at the fucking Wellspring Mask Orcapon, and that was that it. That's it. You were looking at all the Orcapons, and you didn't see any other cards in the set, and then you were shocked. That Twilight Masquerade went up. Well, guess what? Hopefully you won't be shocked when the new Ninja Spinner set comes out that has a Mega Greninja in it, and it breaks the hobby again, and all the Megas, and then we're going to have a Mega Charizard set potentially too. And it's like, oh, nothing says death of the hobby like Charizard chase sets with Mega Evolutions. What are we doing? What kind of cope are people coming up with? There should be no cope. It should just be, we're on our gondola, and we're going down the river Styx, and you know what? Death is just paddling the boat for us. And you know what? You could either be one of two people. You could be the person that's super sad, you think you're already coming to your end, or you could be the other guy just sitting there drinking your pina colada with your feet up, death behind you, and you're just going for a little cruise. You don't care. I don't care. It's just, we booming. Does that make sense? We booming so hard. Pokemon is going to print a lot of stuff. Hey, I'm super interested in the fact that we're getting more Blooming Waters. I think that's gonna be that's gonna be the end. I also probably was on record saying that I thought the last Blooming Waters release was gonna be it. Maybe we'll get one more. It definitely seems like what everybody's getting for allocations of Blooming Waters right now is going to be a lot less than they got for their previous, and maybe they'll get another one. Maybe it'll be even less than the next one. Pick up 151 right now. Yeah. If this Blooming Waters comes, whatever market weakness it shows, I'm telling you right now, I would buy it. Whatever 151 you can get your hands on, just buy it. Single packs, buy it. I know people are anti-single packs. Guess what? You know, the most liquid thing in this hobby is single packs. And if you could get, and fuck Blooming Water collection boxes. Those things are monstrosities. They are super awkward. They're super big. They're impossible to ship. They're impossible to deal with. You're probably going to get cheap pack prices. If you have an opportunity, get it. Get it while the getting is good. Because you will not be mad in a year or 2 or 5. Listen, anything is possible. Do I see in a 5-year timeline where everybody's like, man, I got all this shitty 151. Talk about a stinker set right there. I don't see that personally. But if you don't want 151 now, you just never want it. Can we just throw that out there? If you do not want 151 after this next Blooming Waters release, you never want it. And that's fine too. You don't need to want it. Do you want to know why too? Because 151 is what? Scarlet and Violet 3.5, which, first of all, 0.5 sets, bleh, puke, gross, that's disgusting. Half sets, who does that? They're not even a main set. They don't even have booster boxes. No booster boxes. Is this even Pokemon? No. It doesn't even count. So if you think about it that way, yeah, 151 does suck. But also, 151 is kind of vintage at this point. You know why? Because Surgeon Sparks is vintage. Prismatic is vintage. The only thing that is currently not vintage is Destined Rivals. All other sets before Destined Rivals is vintage. And you want to know what's going to happen very, very soon? In September, or not September, that's when the Mega set, whenever, July 18th, I think, Black and White's coming out. After July 18th, Destined Rivals will officially, by all PK metrics, Destined Rivals will be vintage in a little over a month from now. So right now, Destined Rivals is still modern, but in a little over a month and a half, vintage. Think about it. So 151, if that's the case, and you just think about 151 being stinky old vintage stuff for all these boomers out there like 151, yeah, then pass on it. But you know what? What are you buying? What are you buying? What opportunities are people watching? What is people's concerns? Overall market drops? What is it? How long you guys been in the hobby now for? Find me the bad buys. Find them for me. That's like another thing too, is the recent content that's been out is like, here are my bad buys in the hobby. It's like, what? Here are my bad buys. It's like, the people that are doing the bad buys, it's just like, how? How? So, what are you doing? What are you doing? You just evaporating stuff? Like, are you just a terrible... What are you doing? What are you doing? Everything has been bad. How are these bad buys? We are... If you can't make money in today's hobby, I'm just going to let you in on this little secret. You will never make money. You just don't have whatever it is, which is not much. You will never make money. It just is what it is. There's nothing, don't be upset by that. Just go find something else. It's fine. I probably can't make money doing shit coins. I can't. Hey, if you're going to be like, PK, go buy some crypto, I'd be like, I'll buy some Bitcoin. Be like, people probably look at me like, but you're not going to get good returns. It's like, I don't know shit about Bitcoin, but somebody could probably go do some pump and dump for some shit coin and make a lot of money. And you know what? If you're probably way better at that market than I am, so go do what you're good at. If you can't make money in the Pokemon hobby today, it's there. This is the greatest time we have ever been in. Ever. And it's funny too, like, I've watched some of the recent videos that came out. Shout out Opossum Bud. Opossum Bud made a video today talking about, like, one of the guys that lost like a bunch of money, and I went and I watched his video, and I heard him multiple times in the video say the word, he was interchanging it. He was saying collection and investment. Collection, investment. Collection, investment. And then he was all over the place. He was talking about sealed product, he was talking about singles, he was talking about ripping, he was talking about English, he was talking about Japanese, he was talking about video games. He was really, really spread out. And it is very, very tough when you start confusing collection with investing. They could definitely meld, and I think that it's important that you could have your investments also be part of your collection, but you got to be careful not to blur the line too much, because a lot of times when you're going after something for your collection, you are probably more likely than not being able to either, one, pay market, or number two, you're looking to pay over market because you want to acquire that for your collection. Now, when you're doing that from an investment standpoint, that is a very, very nerve-wracking thing, because usually you go into a collection item of, I don't care if this thing goes up or down, and that is probably not the best way to go about your investing too. To go hardcore into investing and say, I don't care if this goes up or down. You should care, because I think they're two different. And then also when you start like acquiring, especially things like singles, especially when you start to acquire things like modern singles, then you are heavily speculating on collection investment pieces. And those are very, very dangerous things, because you're blurring a line that doesn't need to exist in the first place. Like, I think that's another thing too, is people are very, very nervous to draw good. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, PK's perfect, he's drawn clear lines. Like, no, there's definitely been a lot of pieces in my PC that are collection items that I don't care if the value goes up or down per se, but and it's this thing about the Pokemon hobby too, where you become contradictory to yourself, and you're going to say contradictory statements, where a lot of what collecting in this hobby, at least in the last couple years, 10 years, 20 years, a lot of big collectors become investors, and I call this by default. And what that means is, if they didn't care about their prices going up and down, eventually, given enough time, which once again, the only person in the history of this hobby who's undefeated is Father Time, given enough time, they start to see the monetary value of a lot of their items, and they start to look at this stuff and they say, this is becoming really, really big numbers. And then they have to make that decision. Do I still want to be a collector of this item after there is a huge price increase of it, and then you have to make the decision, does it make sense to hold this? It might have made sense a couple years ago when you look at the price then versus the price now, but this is all things people have to decide for themselves. But when you go into it for an investor mindset, but then blurring the line of collector, so like going in right off the bat, what I talked about was collectors who became investors by default. It's another thing when you hop right into it and you blur that line constantly, and you will get blinded, and you will not be able to always make rational decisions, because you'll say, I don't care if it goes up or down. And then if you ever use those words, you're not an investor. You're a collector, which is fine. But as an investor, you should be consciously concerned, consciously worried about that. But then what happens is you have people that go in as both collectors and investors. But they do the number one cardinal rule you can't do: over leverage. You cannot, in this hobby, over leverage yourself. That is the worst thing you can do, because this hobby, and going back to things I've said, now, you see, this is the thing, you say enough shit over and over again, it just starts to become on repeat, and people get tired of it because they hear the same thing. But again, Pokemon is not a sprint, it is the definition of a marathon. And the funny thing is most marathons are 26 miles. This is not that. This hobby just keeps going on into perpetuity, into what is known as foreverness. So this is a marathon, and you cannot gas yourself. And it is just a long, methodical grind, day after day, month after month, year after year, decade after decade. And that's it. But you just can't gas yourself. And too many people, they hop into the hobby, and the first thing they do is buy or buy. And you can't always buy or buy. You gotta buy, breathe. Take a big breath in, take a big breath out. Shout out to Billy and Rubik's. Billy, take a nice little yoga pose, take a big breath in. That's what you gotta do sometimes, because this hobby will burn you out in that sense. It's a marathon. It's a methodical, and you know what? The problem is, too, is at the beginning, for a lot of people, this is for anybody out there who's newer to this hobby, one of the big things is, and it's probably the most important thing, when you start, you're going to feel that whatever you have is going to be small, collection-wise or investment-wise. Things take time. And the worst thing you can do, and the number one cardinal sin when it comes to that, is start comparing your collection or start comparing your investments to other people. Because you can't. You cannot compare to other people. And I promise you, I have definitely looked around in the past and said, I'll never have what this guy has. And you'll make a lot of excuses, and you'll play your pity party, and you can't do that. You can't make excuses. You can't play pity party, because at that case, do you know how many people probably just look at what other people have and say, because I can never have what they have, I might as well not even do this to begin with. And that is the worst way to go about it. Don't compare yourself to other people. Just be you. Just do you. And march to your own beat. Whatever that beat is, just march to your own beat. And just do your thing. And I promise you, given enough time, and that's another thing too, is the harsh reality of a lot of this. There's your new investors, collectors, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, be a flash in the pan. They won't even be here anymore, which is a shame. I hate when that happens, but that's also probably a reality. And shout out to Rudy Alpha Investment. Rudy talks about this all the time, that there's constantly people that enter into this hobby and enter out of the hobby, and most collectors only stick around for between 6 to 12 months. And I used to never really put too much validity to that, but I've seen it, I've witnessed it, and you could see the receipts are there. My channel's been around now for a long time. Maybe I'm considered like an old timer, at least when it comes to the long form content. There weren't many people doing long form content before me. Now everybody does long form content, but I at least was there, and you could go back and you could see there's a track record of videos, but more importantly, there's a track record of the comment sections. And when you click on the comment sections, I bet if you've been around for a while, you'll recognize a lot of the names, but you'd be like, I haven't seen this guy in a long time. Where did this guy go? Gone. And then there'll be a couple, and then you look at the names that did stick around, and you go, ooh, look at that guy. Look at where that guy is today. That guy's done big things. That's the thing. That's his hobby. And it's time. It's a grind. And you cannot do this overnight. And more importantly, you shouldn't want to do it overnight. You shouldn't want to. You should honestly not want to do this overnight. You should want to put the time in, put the grind in. Because the juice is worth the squeeze. That's the problem. People don't want to do that, do the squeeze. It is what it is. But don't burn yourself out. People that are doing this sprint on a marathon, take your time. And things do come with time and effort. A little bit of elbow grease. And there's a lot of fucking luck involved too. Let's make no mistakes. People will be like, oh, PK never taught you. There's luck. Oh, I promise you. Took you to the 44-minute and 53-second mark of this video. I promise you. There is luck involved. And I'll be the first person to tell you that. And then that's where you start blurring the line. It's like, where's luck? You know what? It's probably a combination of a couple things. It's probably a little bit of an intelligence. It's probably a little bit of luck. And it's probably a little bit of stupidity. Listen, there was a long time I used to talk about as I walked through the valley of the $79.95 booster box, I fear no evil. And people got so tired of that line. I'm afraid if I put that on a shirt, somebody might come up and strangle me one day if they saw me wearing that shirt. PK merch idea. That might be my first ever channel merch right there. As I walk through the valley of the $79.95 booster box, I fear no evil. There we go. That might be a good shirt. But I'm afraid somebody might strangle me if I wore that. Well, guess what? Here's another thing I have to tell everybody. As I woke up every single day, for not a day, not a week, but for weeks with an S. I woke up every day and I looked on PokemonCenter.com and there was Brilliant Stars ATVs readily available for MSRP, and I saw Lost Origin booster boxes on PokemonCenter.com readily available for MSRP, and every single day I woke up and I asked myself the same question. It can't be this easy. Everybody must be doing this. And it wasn't just me. There was a lot of people. Woke up every day and they looked at that same Lost Origin and Brilliant Stars booster boxes available and said, it can't be this easy. And you could go on TCG Player and at the exact moment on the same day, they were confirmed sales at 180 on TCG Player for booster boxes. But at the same time on Pokemon Center, which is not a obscure niche, go deep down the rabbit hole to get yourself at the PokemonCenter.com. You know, this is not the Hill Gamins of the world and everybody, you know, this isn't that. This is PokemonCenter.com. Wake up every day. You know what? Maybe you can say that was a little stupidity, because what if it didn't play out? Or you can say maybe it was a little bit of intelligence. Maybe you just said, if this doesn't work, then I don't know this hobby at all. And that's a weird thing. There's a lot of people came together. It was our We Are the World moment. Everybody stood in a field. All the content creators, even the people that despised each other, we all stood in a field and we all held hands and we all sang We Are the World. You know why? Because everybody was in agreement. We were like, this seems like a pretty good deal. So maybe there's a little bit of intelligence that's baked in there. But you know what? Nobody will ever want to give you that. Nobody will ever want to admit to that. Because it is all luck. It is all stupidity. No intelligence. Intelligence is removed out of the equation. As always, my name is PK. This is the old Poke Knowledge Cards YouTube channel. Stand on my soapbox once a week. Hey. Give you something. I'll give you a little food for thought. A little sprinkle the fish food into the tank every single week of 2024. I was live on Thursday nights. Every single Thursday night in 2025. It's already June. It means I've gone now 18 months. I haven't missed a single Thursday night live. Think about that. For consistency for you, 18 months in a row. And in fact, when you go pre-2024, I never missed a single week since 2023. No, that's not true. I haven't missed a week of content. Now, it hasn't always been on Thursday, but I haven't missed a day where I haven't put out content in a week since 2020. It means from 2020 to today, I've at least put out a video every single week. That is consistency. It didn't matter when Fusion Strike was $280 a box. It didn't matter when Chillin' Rain was $80. Didn't matter when Fusion was $80. Didn't matter when Evolving Skies was $95, when it was $140, when it was $200, when it was $400, when it was $600, when it was $1,000, when it was $1,500, or now when it's $2,000. It didn't matter. I made videos throughout all of it. And you know what? Doesn't matter if it's 20th anniversary, the 25th, or the 30th, or the 35th, or the 40th, or the 45th, or the 50th, until eventually I will breathe my last breath, and I will utter my last rant. So until that day comes, I'm not going anywhere. Some of you guys are going to like to hear that. Some of you will not. For those of you that do, I appreciate you. For those of you that don't, I just got a couple little words for you. Pew, 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 pew. Later.